My name's Rachel, and I'm an outsider. Between them, my mother and her limiting choices and my grandmother's drug addiction, they had ensured inadvertently that I followed in their footsteps, that I became a black sheep, that I was an outsider. My mum watched in horror as I slipped further and further away from the established norm. Rehab dragged me, kicking and screaming, back into reality, back into this life. And I was grateful. But they did say that if I was going to survive, not only did I have to get clean and stay clean, but I had to become a productive member of society. I felt like I was back at square one, facing the inside, terrified, and I did what I could to fit in. I grew my hair. I got a nice new boyfriend. I went on the telly. I went to showbiz parties. I bought clothes from Harvey Nicks. I was in. And I knew I was on the inside because I suffered from the same pressure to conform, the pressure to succeed, the pressure to compete. I lived with the same fear of failure, fear of missing out, fear of judgment, fear of falling behind as all my other fellow insiders. My mother would have been proud.
Hi, I'm Andrew Robertson. This is what I do. I like to make sofas on the South Bank. They're like my trademark. It's a bit weird. Kids will see me making a sofa and say, "Oh, look, it's The Simpsons. He's making The Simpsons." And it's nice, just a sofa. But sometimes it is The Simpsons. They say that I've got faith in this democratic system. That's why I started a political party. This is what they say in the papers. I don't. It's completely the opposite of why I started the Beach Party, because I have no faith in it. I started my political party to just highlight the problems that I see in our society.
I've heard a lot of people talk when they're artists and they say, "Oh, I always knew I was an artist," or they always had that idea. But I have to say that when I was young, I would never have had the confidence to say that I was an artist. In fact, I always felt like I wasn't that good. I couldn't really draw, I couldn't really paint. And to be honest, I always felt like the outsider, as was said before, the black sheep. The outsider in me decided that, you know what, I was sick of art steering committees telling me what I could and couldn't do when I was doing public work, that I decided to mosaic my own house. So I started a 15-year project to just mosaic the outside of my house. And I gave myself a blue plaque, because I thought I deserved it. As you can see, it's been awarded from the English Hedonists. 2002, lots of people lived here and partied hard. Of course, there's always some kind of irony in my work, because this is the plaque I'm putting up now. For those that don't know, NA is Narcotics Anonymous. So that's the one I'm working on at the moment. And I think at that time, I really realized the power of art to convey messages, and realized how I could use my creativity and my talent to go and do work that would try to raise consciousness about things that I cared passionately about.
And I still can't really explain what I do other than sort of getting this UFO-looking thing and kind of hitting it like this. And then occasionally I speak freely like this, where I don't come on the stage with anything, any preconceived idea of what to speak about. You know, originally I was thinking, I'm an outsider. Yeah, let me see, I've got a side parting, I've got dreadlocks, I've got a man bun, I've got short back and sides, all four of those haircuts together, slam all together, that's an outsider. You know.
Once I get out of university, I'm going to go out there and try and make some money. It was basically glorified telesales, if anyone's seen The Wolf of Wall Street. I made this money, and it went to my head, and I'd started raving in Manchester when the rave scene began. It made a big impression on me. So with that money, I thought to myself, and I'm going to transfer the Manchester rave scene over to the Arizona desert. There wasn't any ecstasy out there at the time, so I applied my business studies knowledge and started to have people import ecstasy. So I take full responsibility for what I did. On May 16, 2002, SWAT team smashed my door down, and I ended up in this jail that's got the highest rate of death in America. Well, not only were the gang members murdering the prisoners, even the guards are murdering the prisoners. Everything you take for granted about your safety in society was reversed in here. They're constantly looking for people to beat up because that's how they earn their reputations and their tattoos. It's called putting work in to earn your political ink. The more serious the violence, higher up in the gang hierarchy are the tattoos.
I'm a visually impaired, albino, non-driver, who speaks no foreign languages and has no journalism qualifications whatsoever. In short, I am spectacularly unqualified to do my job. Now, I've been lucky enough to get paid to travel and write for the last decade of my life. And if I've learnt one thing, it is that people who travel a lot are very often even more boring than people who don't go anywhere. So, next time you see a bloke in a wheelchair or a girl on crutches, or you overhear a couple talking about their medication, then please don't think of them as brave or inspiring. Don't feel pangs of sympathy or strains of empathy. In fact, don't bother thinking about it at all. And if you do, then the correct emotion to feel is nothing more than slight boredom. Because if you're just slightly bored with disability in the same way that I am, then you are getting a real insight into the reality of the thing. And that, my friends, is when I think real progress will have been made.
My name is Joelle Taylor, and I write poems and spoken word, plays, novels. I'm a stripper, that kind of thing. I won this UK Slam, and because of that, within a couple of weeks, Ken Livingstone, who was then the mayor of London, remember those days? Ken called me up. Well, actually, he doesn't really know me that well. Kenny, he called me up, and he was like, yo, Joe, do you know of anything that, for real, do you know of anything that could access young people who are failing in traditional education, but would allow them to speak the truths about their lives? And I was like, not really. Oh, actually, let's do this thing. Now, Slam, at that time, so back in 2000, was only really known in the USA, and it was this phenomena in England we knew about that was having people queue around the block to get to gigs. So that when I set up the Slam and I met these people, I realized that there is beauty in the ugly places. There is real strength and power in the things that have happened to these young people, and actually all we really need is someone to say, yes, you can, mate, and give them a microphone and put them on stage. SHP, have my heart, you're incredible. This poem is called Last Poet Standing. I am the last poet standing on this blank stage of bruised pavements, broken with missed opportunities and well-aimed misunderstandings. They say our children are too demanding. The scent of sweat at the base of the spine, carried on wolves of wind, lures the gangs in.